Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cool Sports Guy. I'm Tom. Joining me today is Jarrett. How are you doing today, Jarrett?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm awesome. Welcome to Cool Sports Guy. We are going to talk some NFL today, and we have quite a bit to talk about the NFL today because the free agents started signing, and some of them still trying to find a spot to land. So let's get right into it. So last week we picked 10 of our free agents or top 10 free agents to see where we're going to go. We predicted where they're going to land. I am 0 for 10 so far. And you said you got how many?
I have one right, but I also have two yet to sign anywhere,
Fair enough.
so it's not a complete loss yet.
Well, I still got a couple left to sign. So let's actually get down to that list first. So I had I'll talk about the ones that I actually signed on my list. So Mitch Trubisky, I actually had him going to the Panthers. Um, he did sign obviously with the Steelers, so I was wrong there. But I do think that's actually not only a bad landing spot. I think it's actually a better landing spot than the Panthers. So I probably should have done my homework and put that thought into it. But yeah, I think Steelers is going to be a good fit. I'm not the biggest Mitch Trubisky fan in the world, but I do like the guy. I think he can win some games. I definitely don't love him as much as you do. So any takes on that?
As the Mitch Trubisky fanboy of the group,
Mm-hmm.
I like the move. I originally had him going to the Colts, which I think would be a better fit. But at the same time, I do think the Steelers is not a bad fit whatsoever. It's a great defense. They've always had a good defense. And I know you were a lot higher on Big Ben, especially last year, than I was. I think
I think
I think
I think
Mitch
I made my case
Trubisky,
for it too.
which is fair, but I think at this point in their careers, I think Mitch is better than Big Ben was last year. I also think Mitch, a big thing that kind of like threw his career off course was none other than the world's greatest coach, Matt Nagy. I think now that he's going to a competent coach with a competent offense, Mike Tomlin's one of the better coaches in the league. He makes players play better than they are. I think that it's a good fit. He'll finally have some kind of support from his coach. I think overall it'll be good. Maybe don't see them making the playoffs just based on how good the AFC is, but I still think that they'll be a very competitive team with Mitch next year.
Okay, fair enough. Uh, yeah, I don't necessarily. I mean, I know I kind of bashed on the Bengals when we were making our playoffs predictions for next year, but I mean, I think the Bengals are still going to be a pretty solid team overall, and the Ravens are going to get quite a few players come back healthy, hopefully. So I think that'll help. And then on top of that, I think with Deshaun Watson now being a Brown, that's also gonna. I don't know how many for how many weeks the suspension's gonna last, but that's gonna be a factor as well. But overall, Steelers, even with Mitch, no disrespect to Mitch, but I think it's gonna be in a tough position. Um, I also had Von Miller signing with the Denver Broncos. I figured it'll be awesome for him to go back to where it all started and finish out his career. But nope, he went in a completely different direction. Flew all the way up to Buffalo and decided to sign with them for 5 years. So I was obviously wrong there too. Um, this has I haven't read too much into the details as far as the trade goes, but it's got to be one of those conditional trades. I'm assuming to where he knows it, and the Buffalo Bills knows that there's no way in hell he's gonna last 5 years in this league. I certainly don't think he has 5 years left. So what do you think he got left in his tank?
To go on your point where you picked the Broncos, I picked the Rams, which going into the offseason, the entire thing was, oh, it's either going to be Denver or the Rams. That's it. Then I remember getting the notification on my phone out of nowhere. It's Von Miller to the Bills, and I was completely taken aback. I think it's a good fit. I think that he will be great for that team. But like you said, that's a big contract. I'm not discrediting Von Miller. He performed in the playoffs last year. He's a big reason they even won the Super Bowl. But that's a big contract to give to an aging linebacker like that. I probably wouldn't have paid him that much. That's
Yeah.
just me. I mean, on Von Miller's part, I don't know who his agent is, but he must have. I don't know what he did, but that's a huge contract. More power to him. Even though I'm a fan of his because I was bandwagoning on the Rams last year, that's too big of a contract to me. I would have stayed very clear of that. But you know, I think it'll win them some extra games, maybe even put them over the top. But that's a big chunk of change.
Yeah, I think I mean, Von Miller, like you said, he played great in the playoffs and whatnot, but he's also had his fair share of injuries as well. So if, one bad hit at this point, one bad tweak, he could be out for seasons at a time. So I don't know. Hopefully it works out for him. Obviously, I don't wish injury on him. I wish he can play as long as he can. I love him as a player. He's great. He's given Brady a lot of trouble, especially in that 2015 season. And then he followed by 2 weeks later in the Super Bowl, gave Cam Newton a lot of trouble too. I would say that that game was a downfall of Cam Newton. I also said that Jameis Winston is either going to go to the Lions or the Dolphins. Neither of them worked out. Looks like the Saints decided that their best option as of now is to stick with Jameis. I think it's a good fit. He was playing well before he went out due to injury last year. Looked like all the players were getting along with them great, and he just starting with week 1, they came and just wrecked the Packers. I'm sure you were happy about that.
Yes.
So Winston is back. He's signing with the Saints for 2 more years under the new head coach, obviously. So what do you think?
I actually didn't have him in my predictions. I do think that the Saints was a logical spot. I'm not going to act like I knew that was going to happen because it's after the fact. But I like the fit, and like you had brought up, he was playing pretty well before his injury, which I think was like in October, which I know he's supposed to be back by the start of training camp is what the prediction is. I know that they went hard for Deshaun Watson, didn't end up working, and I feel like because of that, I think that going for like the returning quarterback in Jameis Winston, who I know he's been in the league for a little bit now, but he still has a lot of potential, and I think that they can try and maybe not build around him per se, but like they're still a good team.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston's not a bad quarterback. I think they could win with him. And I think that was by far the smartest option for them, and probably for Jameis Winston as well.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a smart decision by Jameis Winston. We got a big signing. I had Mitch and Allen Robinson teaming up again at Carolina with the Panthers. Obviously, Mitch went to the Steelers. Robinson, on the other hand, decided to sign with the Rams. Rams look like they're just building a super team here. Didn't you have Allen Robinson going somewhere?
I had Allen Robinson going to the Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
Which in my mind still makes a lot of sense. I was very kind of surprised to see him go to the Rams based solely on that's not a position of need for them whatsoever. I think that the Rams are a great team, honestly, top to bottom. They're stacked in almost every position. But, I mean, yes, OBJ was hurt. Robert Woods he got hurt towards the end of the season. But they still, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson's not bad, and they could have kept all of them together, but instead they decided to sign Allen Robinson with the money they would have spent on Von Miller and decided to trade Robert Woods, which I'm a big Allen Robinson fan. I know he kind of quit on the Bears last year, and as a Bears fan, that hurt, but at the same time, I get it. Nagy kind of like took him out of the offense. But Robert Woods, I feel like, is one of those players who, don't get me wrong, he's incredibly talented, but he also means a lot more to the team than just his ability on the field. He's a great locker room leader. He means a lot to the team. You could see when he got traded, everyone on the team's reaction upset a lot of people. I think that they honestly should have kept Robert Woods and maybe gone a different route from a different hole in the team than to try to sign Allen Robinson. And I will point out on the Robert Woods trade, they got a 6th-round pick in return for him from the Titans, which that's insane to me. I think that the Titans got a great deal with that. The Rams, on the other hand, not so much. I feel like they still need another pass rusher opposite, Leonard Floyd to pair with him and Aaron Donald. I don't know. I like Allen Robinson. I think he's gonna be great for their team, but I just don't like the fit there.
Yeah. I will say this, as far as Robert Wood, if they're trading him for a 6th-round pick, then I'm sure that they have come to some kind of agreement with OBJ for him to come back. At least that's what they're hoping for. I think they're just gonna keep Odell Beckham. Um, the 6th-round pick, listen, they're probably just gonna draft a kicker, right? Like at this point, that's pretty much what they want. They want a kicker.
Well, they
So
actually they had a Pro Bowl kicker. They're probably gonna go punter, but not
that's
that it
or that.
matters.
There you go.
There is like the one of the greatest punter prospects of all time in this year's draft, but
Well, um, so let's see, where am I? So Gronkowski has not signed yet. I said he was going to go to the Bengals, but I think he's going to stay with the Bucks now that the GOAT's back. That was like the worst retirement ever. Retired on Instagram, was gone for a month and a half during the off season. It's like, never left. Just, but you know, I'm glad that's all it took. But I just don't understand how that month and a half where the games weren't even being played made a difference. I mean, if you would have been gone and like a month into football season starting and you would have said, hey, I want to go back and play because I miss it too much, that's one thing. But you were literally, I mean, you could have won the Super Bowl last year, be home with the wife and kids or whoever for a month and a half, and you're just like, nah, free agency haven't even hit, but I'm going to come back.
I will point out though, whenever he first retired, I thought he was going to come back. I think I had mentioned that on one of the episodes.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like a real retirement. It just
It really didn't.
that's how I mentioned it. It didn't seem like the way Tom Brady would go out. I know you're very much more a Tom Brady fan than me. Growing up, my family despises him. My stepdad's a Raiders fan, so all I heard about was like the Tuck Rule game, that kind of stuff. But I respect the hell out of Tom Brady. He's by far the greatest player to ever touch a football field. He's a winner. He's great, and I do not see I just feel like the way he went out last season is not how he's going to go out. I very much feel like he's either gonna retire after a Super Bowl win or by not making the playoffs because he's officially lost his talent because he's like 53 at that point. But other than that, I don't see him like retiring with like a divisional round playoff loss. It just doesn't make sense to me.
That's fair. Yeah, so back to what I was saying as far as Gronkowski goes, and yeah, I do agree on a lot of those points you made. It's just that, just real quick on the point you made, that winning a Super Bowl is extremely hard, but I give more chances to him winning a Super Bowl than him. Like statistically, he has made and won more Super Bowls than he has not made the playoffs. So if you're saying that he's going to retire after one of these two things happening, I don't know, man. That could be a very tall order because there was a point where for 10 years straight that he didn't win a Super Bowl. So unless you want to see him beat the crap out of some more teams for another decade, maybe.
I mean, I feel like at this point maybe he could do it. It's insane how his longevity of his career.
Yeah, I haven't bet against him, and I'm glad I never did, and I don't plan on betting against him anytime soon. So I think Gronk's probably going to stay at this point. I also had Ryan Jensen signing with the Bengals, which I thought was going to help the offensive line a lot. I think he already did sign with the Bucks. I could be wrong on that. Chris Godwin already signed with the Bucks as well.
Yes.
Signed a contract. I think I do find it amazing how many players are willing to take pay cuts and take lesser contracts just for the idea of playing with Tom Brady, right? I mean, the defense gets a lot done, special teams, the receivers great, blah, blah, blah. It's not all on Tom Brady, but the idea of understanding, hey, Tom Brady's our leader and he's going to be in that locker room. He's going to be out on the football field with us. Let me take a pay cut because there is a higher chance I'll win. I think that goes to what you just said about his greatness a lot. And then Zach Ertz ended up signing with the Cardinals again, right? I think that's actually, hey, I got two right. I actually
Hey,
have
look at you
Zachary signing
go.
with the Cardinals. What a thunk. Okay. Kyle Van Noy with the Chiefs have not signed anywhere yet. I said he was going to sign with the Chiefs. He hasn't signed anywhere yet. And lastly, I had Tyrann Mathieu, who also has not signed anywhere yet. So I have Tyrann Mathieu going to the Washington football team.
Well, I guess I will fill in the rest, which happens to be a lot of the ones that you didn't mention that were from my list, which can be a whole lot of wrong answers, mind you. At the top of my list, I had Chandler Jones,
Oh, yeah.
which I mentioned I originally had him going to the Chargers before the Khalil Mack trade, but they traded for Mack. Chargers didn't need him, and that was right before we made the last episode. So I did change it to another AFC West team, and I picked the Denver Broncos, which still would have made a lot of sense to me. But it turns out the third AFC West team was the correct answer. He actually went to the Las Vegas Raiders. Um, I find it hard to talk about the Raiders based solely on the fact that like that division is so insane, and I just don't see the Raiders keeping up. I know they've made good moves, but at the same time, that division is just insane. I feel like the difference in quarterback level is so drastic that I still have them fourth, which is insane to say given Derek Carr is their quarterback, and he's a good to maybe even great quarterback in the league, and he's still just the difference because all the other three quarterbacks are elite and
He's
maybe
definitely in the top half rather than the
without a
bottom half.
doubt. I think
But
he might be even top 10, but it's just like Russell Wilson, Herbert, and obviously Patrick Mahomes are just that much better than him, which is what makes this division so insane.
And I feel bad because he's like the nicest guy in the world. So I actually
Derek
feel
Carr
bad saying that. Yeah,
he's which like and like I said, like my family is there's a lot of Raiders fans, but like I even me trying to be biased, I can't put them ahead of these other teams. I just physically can't do it. Even adding Chandler Jones, I think is a great. Last year he started his week 1 had 5 sacks, and I think he ended the year with like 6. Like he fell off a cliff. He forgot how to play football. I don't know, but that's a good move in my opinion. It just I feel like that's definitely not going to like turn the nail or needle or whatever the saying is. Up next, I had Teron Armstead, which I was like for sure about this move. I was like, this is guaranteed to happen. I was very wrong. I had him going to the Cincinnati Bengals. I thought it would be a great fit. They have money to spend. Their big hole is their offensive line, who doesn't block anyone. Joe Burrow was on his back constantly. He actually didn't sign with the Bengals. They went with more cheaper options, but still solid options. Instead, he just signed a huge deal with the Miami Dolphins, which I don't think is a bad fit. My whole thing with Armstead is he's never played a full season in his entire career. I think the most he's played in the season was 12 games. And he's 31 already. So you have an aging veteran who has injury problems. I know as a Bears fan, they were connected to him a lot. He's not someone I would go for personally because of the injury issues. If he can stay healthy, I think they've built such a foundation around Tua that this is the year to prove if he has the it factor to be a franchise quarterback or not. There's no more the next year, wait till next year, this is it for Tua. If he doesn't perform, he's going to be gone in the offseason. That's guaranteed at this point. But I do like the signing, just not a huge fan of the contract given the age and injury issues. I also had Tyrann Mathieu. I had him going to the Colts, which I feel like is still not likely, but I'll say possible. I'm kind of curious to see where he goes because it doesn't. There's in the sports world news on Twitter, he doesn't seem many teams that he's linked to at the moment. I could still see the Colts, but that's honestly a toss up. Could go literally anywhere. He could go to the Washington Commanders. Sorry, I was a football team. J.C. Jackson's who I had next.
Hey, he should just go play with the real GOAT at this point.
Honestly, go to Tampa. They probably need a safety. Tyrann Mathieu still
the real GOAT. Just to clarify.
I get it. I had J.C. Jackson, who I had going to the Raiders. I feel like they would be big spenders on the cornerback market, which they didn't happen to be. But again, the AFC West was still where he went, just not to the right team. if we went by divisions, I feel like I did pretty solid on this. But J.C. Jackson signed with the Chargers. I think he's the highest paid cornerback in the league, maybe of all time at this point. He got a huge contract, which J.C. Jackson is like, I don't think he's as like locked down of a corner as like a Jalen Ramsey. I still think he's a very good cornerback, but he's kind of like a Trevon Diggs of the Cowboys, but just doesn't allow as many yards. Because with like the reason like Diggs and people like J.C. Jackson get so many interceptions is because they're not locked down to where the quarterback doesn't even is like horrified to even throw the ball in that direction. He kind of plays a risky game to where he leaves the receiver a little open to kind of bait the quarterback. But at the same time, if you do that, a lot of the times the receivers can, do like a double move on a route and it ends up with you getting burned. I feel like that's what happened a lot in the playoff game against the Bills when he got burned a few times by Stephon Diggs. I like the signing, though. I think he'll have a lot easier of a job. I think the Patriots are a good defense, but their pass rush is not going to be anything compared to what the Chargers will be next year with Bosa and Matt coming on both edges. That defense is about to be insane. I think that'll help him out a lot. I think the Chargers are kind of building a team to win now. Bosa's not young. Mac's getting up there in age. Like they want to win now, and they're making that very clear.
You know who I feel bad for in the AFC? The Jets. Everyone. The Jets. They already couldn't win a game, and now they're in a conference with it's not like a powerhouse of team. It's a powerhouse of conference. Like if the AFC doesn't win somebody from the AFC doesn't win the Super Bowl next year, it's got to be, I don't know, something's got to be wrong. There's like 3 teams in the NFC that's like, we're going to be in the playoffs, more than likely in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, the thing is, I have crap talked the Bears since they traded Mac, which I've gone to accept. I've had time to think about it, and I've accepted it. I don't think they're built to win next year, but I think the NFC is so bad they could still very well make a playoff spot.
Oh, they will. I don't know if they will. They won't make a playoff. I'm tripping.
The AFC is insane. Every single team except maybe the Jets, I could see in the playoffs.
Jags.
I know that's singling one. Oh, the Jags. Jags, Jets, and Texans are like the only teams maybe I couldn't see.
Son. This is it.
We
got picks
Davis
back.
Mills.
We just got some picks back. I have faith in Davis Mills. I like our coach finally. Texans are about to get better. Texans are about to get better. I'm excited for the Texans for the first time ever since 2012.
Okay,
10 years.
I have a lot of excitement. Okay.
Listen, when you win 3-4 games at a time every season, and you're hoping to possibly end up winning over 50%, there's a lot. That's improvement to be excited about, and I can see Texans winning about 8 or 9 games this coming season.
I wish you the best of luck. 8 or 9 in the AFC seems a bit insane, but I'll just move on to Hassan Reddick. He was on the Carolina Panthers. He started off on the Cardinals, wasn't great, kind of just mediocre at best at the beginning of his career. Then his last year with the Cardinals, he popped off and had a great season, and you would think he would earn a big contract, but he signed a 1-year deal with the Panthers. I had him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm still going to say I think that would have been a good fit. He actually went to the Philadelphia Eagles, which I don't really know how I feel about that because the Eagles, I think, are a big question mark of a team. Again, NFC is garbage, so I could see them making the playoffs. But at the same time, I just feel like it's a weird move for the Eagles. I feel like maybe they could have used the money elsewhere. They got signed to quite a big contract. I think Hassan Reddick's a great player. But I feel like team fit wise, maybe there would be better options to go with. But I'm not a genius when it comes to this. I can't predict everything. I could very well be proven wrong. He could break the sack record next year for all I know. I just think that there would be other better fits for him personally. DJ Chark, this is a painful one for me. I had him going to my lovely Chicago Bears. He actually signed with the division rival, the Detroit Lions, on a 1-year, $10 million deal, I believe, which is pretty good value for DJ Chark. I think that he's a great receiver. And I think, honestly, the Packers, now that Aaron Rodgers is on the last legs of his career, yes, they're going to be good as long as they have Rodgers. He's a great quarterback. but they're kind of starting to go downhill, especially after trading Adams. The Vikings have always kind of just been like middle of the pack since I've been watching football. They're never like great, but they're never bad. They're just kind of there. The Detroit Lions have been bad, but I
Didn't
honestly
they go to the NFC Championship game like 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
Yes,
it was more than that.
They did.
2017. It was 2017. They went to the NFC Championship game.
Listen. I know they did that. I still don't count them as a great team. I think that's a good team. That's not like a great team, though, is what I would say. Point being, the point was not to talk about the Vikings or the Packers. Talk about the Lions. I actually have kind of fear for the Lions for the first time in my life, which is insane. I know they made the playoffs in like 2014, 2015 with Matthew Stafford. I think if they get a quarterback, they could very well be a playoff team next year. I think that they have the second overall pick. I could see them going with like Malik Willis out of Liberty. I think he's a good quarterback prospect. He is very raw, and it's definitely the biggest like boomer bust potential of a quarterback in this draft. But I think that Malik Willis would be a good fit there, and I honestly think that he could maybe not specifically next year, but overall bump them over the top. I think Dan Campbell's a great coach, and the players play hard for him. They have money, they have draft picks. I think that getting them a quarterback could definitely make them a scary team that would not benefit me because I just want the Bears to be good for once. But the Lions could genuinely be a good team.
How sad would you be that the Lions, who's like one of the worst teams in the NFL, like 2 years from now, is like in the playoffs, and the Bears are still going like 6-9.
See, weirdly, I would not be like that offended because it's the Lions. Packers fans are annoying as crap. Vikings fans are debatably even worse. Lions, I've never had a bad interaction with a Lions fan like on Twitter or anything. They're kind of, I guess maybe they're just sad because like
the
lose.
They can't talk shit.
But they're at least respectful most of the time. Like Lions
because they have no grounds for it. Wait till they're winning.
If they're winning, then we'll talk about it. But at the time being, I prefer them winning over the Vikings or the Packers. Moving on to the only pick that I have right, Juju Smith-Schuster signing with the Kansas City Chiefs, which is actually to a very small contract. The base deal is, I want to say, like 1 year, like $2.75 million. He can get up to, it was either like 10 or 12 million in incentives. So if he has a great year, it's a very good contract for him. But that's a very small contract. I wish the Bears would have gotten him there for that, because that would be absolutely amazing to give Justin Fields a weapon like Juju. I think that he's a great receiver, and as we'll get into later, there was a trade that happened that cleared up some receiver position for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that Juju's a good fit, and I know I kind of talked about Tyreek Hill as why I like Juju there, because they kind of like could play well off of each other. But sadly, that won't happen. But I still think Juju's a good receiver, and it gives Patrick Mahomes a weapon. So I'm going to stand by that one, which is the only one I got right. So go me. Evan Ingram, I had going to the Arizona Cardinals. Again, I really wish that would have happened, because I think that would have been a very good fit. He actually went to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who decided to spend money on anyone who would take it. Like, I think they would have signed me to a contract if they even knew who I was. They signed Christian Kirk. I know this isn't even talking about Evan Ingram, but they signed Christian Kirk, who has never had an 1,000-yard season as a receiver, which you could say he's a very average receiver at best. Maybe he has potential to be great, but even if you have potential to be great, you don't get signed to like a $21 million a year contract as a potential to be great receiver. That's big time receiver money. That's like you're already there great kind of money. Evan Ingram, I also feel like, I think he's a good player. He needs to work on his hands, but they were just throwing money, because I think even they signed him to like a pretty massive deal for an underwhelming player. The Jaguars kind of ruined the market on everything, because they just kept throwing money at everyone. So everything was willy-nilly. But the next one I have up is Bobby Wagner, who sadly hasn't signed anywhere yet. I have him going to the Chargers, which could very well happen, but the two teams I've seen linked most to him were the Broncos to follow Russell Wilson, or the Rams. they seem to have some interest in him. But when he does sign, maybe we'll talk more about that. I don't really have much to say to add to it. And lastly, I did add this on because at the time he was rumored to be getting released, and so I was like, I'm going to take initiative and say he's going to be a free agent and see who he'll sign with. He actually got traded. Amari Cooper from the Cowboys got traded to the Cleveland Browns. I thought the Patriots were a good fit. I don't know if they offered a deal to the Cowboys for him. I do like the fit with the Browns. I think with they released Jarvis Landry. Obviously, Odell Beckham's not there anymore. They have some holes at the receiver position, and I think Amari Cooper, while he is kind of under the radar, he is still, I feel like, a number one option at receiver. And I feel like, as much as I'm not a big Deshaun Watson fan, I think he's a solid quarterback, and I think getting a good weapon like Amari Cooper will definitely benefit him.
Yeah, I think Amari and Deshaun is going to be fun to watch. Go ahead.
So I was gonna say, and that's all the picks I got.
Fair enough. So real quick before we get into some of these traits that happened, Julio Jones was cut by Tennessee after just 1 year. What do you think about that, and where do you think he's gonna go?
I honestly don't know exactly what the contract details were for his deal with the Titans, but I feel like I think they traded a first round pick for him. I think the fact that they cut him after a year when he was, yes, injury issues have been a problem his last few years, and he was injured last year, which obviously doesn't help. But I feel like cutting him after 1 year isn't the greatest move because honestly, I was a big fan of Ryan Tannehill. I thought he could be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But this last year, I kind of lost a lot of confidence in him, especially that playoff game against the Bengals.
Played terrible.
I'd put a lot of the blame on him for their loss to the Bengals in the playoffs. And I feel like maybe they should have maybe more so gone like after a quarterback change than to cut Julio Jones. Like I said, they replaced him with Robert Woods for a 6th round pick, which is a great deal by them. But I think like a receiving core of say AJ Brown, Robert Woods, and Julio Jones would be amazing because now they have Robert Woods, AJ Brown, and then kind of a huge drop off to their third receiver. They could obviously still draft one; it's a possibility. But I don't like the move of cutting him.
Yeah, I'm sure they're hoping to or expecting to get by without him. And last year too, he at times he was limited. But that being said, Julio Jones, even if he just plays half of the season, I feel like you can get a heck of a lot more than you can from any average receiver for a full season. Seriously, Julio Jones is fantastic. I almost want to say bring him to the Bucs, but at the same time, I'm just like, bro, Bucs don't need receivers. Yeah, that's the last thing the Buccaneers need. I would say there was also, yeah, I know it's just rumors, but I got so excited when I saw Julian Edelman practicing with Tom Brady the other day. I talked about that a couple of weeks ago. I said, hey, just forget everybody, bring Edelman back, bring Amendola back, and keep Gronkowski and bring the old bang back together, and it's going to be great. I will love it. I mean, I will love it if Edelman just came back and played.
But, bring the retirement home onto the field.
Yeah, exactly. It's Tampa Bay, man. It's Florida. That's where all the retirees. Gronk retired, went back to Tampa. Brady retired, went to Tampa. Edelman's retired. Hey, hopefully you can come back to Tampa. That'd be great. I think it'll be fantastic. I mean, let's see. Marcus Mariota, free agent, did just sign with the Atlanta Falcons. Do you think that's going to be a long term, or do you see him as a bridge quarterback?
I definitely see him as a bridge quarterback. Which Marcus Mariota, I think he's a serviceable backup. I think he's like a top tier backup. I don't know what has happened with the sports world in the past like few weeks, but there was all of a sudden this surge of Marcus Mariota never had a chance. He has the potential to be a star quarterback in the league. It has been a thing. I'm on Twitter a little bit too much, but it was everywhere, and I'm like, where did this come from? Yeah, like he maybe didn't get the best shot at the beginning of his career. But to act like this, like I think he's like 27 or 28, I believe. this 28-year-old quarterback is going to all of a sudden be a superstar in the league. Like that's not going to happen. I think if a franchise quarterback doesn't just start at that age, like you can see it up until that point. He hasn't really shown any signs of a superstar. I think he could be a great backup or maybe a decent bridge quarterback, and that's all I see him as. Yeah, it's a good comeback story if he did turn out to be a star. I don't see that happening. I think he'll be a good bridge quarterback I feel like they'll draft a quarterback this year with their first round pick, or wait till next year because this year's quarterback class is a lot weaker. The only quarterback in this class that I'm really even confident in is Malik Willis. All the other ones I think are very much reaches. If anything, I think none of them have star potential. So I think they could wait till next year, but I think they'll draft one this year is my best guess.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's get into the trades, and I definitely have my opinions on the trade. So first and foremost, I want to start with the one that most recently happened, which is Tyreek Hill. Went to the Dolphins. They got a first, second, and fourth round pick in 2022 and a fourth and sixth round pick in 2023. I think that's crazy.
Oh, without a doubt.
Just first of all, it's not like you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback for you to say, hey, let me get a phenomenal receiver like Tyreek Hill and we can go win the Super Bowl. You have Tua. You love Tua a lot more than I love Tua. I like Tua. I think he's great. I think he's solid. Not great. I think he's solid, but he gets hurt way too often. He's only been in the league 2 years now and has gotten hurt both seasons. And he doesn't throw the ball far. How often do you see him chunk the ball up in the air for a 40, 50-yard pass? That's not because you had no receivers that can ever run that far. So Tyreek coming into play and just taking off and running, I don't necessarily see how that helps the Dolphins. And then cherry on top of all of this, dude, this is some court. I mean, the Browns didn't give up this much for Deshaun Watson. Actually, that's not true. The Browns did give up this much for Deshaun Watson, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, I wouldn't give that much up for any non-quarterback in the entire league. Like that's insane.
Absurd.
Which, like, I know, like with the Bears trade when we officially traded for Khalil Mack, they gave up a lot, like 2 first-round picks. They also got like a second-round pick in return, but that probably at the time wasn't even a great trade. I was just happy as a Bears fan that we had someone who wasn't garbage on our team. But this trade, like, it's too much. And I didn't really think about the fact what you kind of touched on is Tua's not a deep passer. He's a West Coast quarterback. Dump offs, the receivers make the plays. He's maybe a game manager. Like he's a smart quarterback who won't maybe throw a bunch of picks. I think that maybe if you're going to trade that much for a receiver, go after like a DK Metcalf who, yes, has the speed to burn you deep, but he also is a big go-get-it receiver. I don't think Hill's the greatest fit. It's
and he's a $30 million receiver.
Yeah, on top of that contract, he's now like the highest paid receiver in football. I think the Dolphins are literally putting all of their eggs in one basket, which I saw a Bears page talk about this. Is like it's very similar to what the Bears did when we traded for Mac. Is we thought Mitch was our guy, so we traded for Mac. We're like, okay, we're gonna win now. We didn't have a backup plan. That's why we've been screwed ever since. The Dolphins are doing that exact same thing. If Tua is not your guy, then what?
But can I just ask this? The Bears putting all their eggs in one basket in Mac, thinking that because he's a defensive player.
Yeah, which I'm saying is because you're like losing a lot of draft capital and salary cap space for that.
But he has a more impact on if your team can win or not than a receiver does.
Also very fair.
It's not even, I don't even think that's close. I think, like, if you say, hey, put all your eggs in one basket and you can get a potential Aaron Donald in return who can beat the crap out of every quarterback you're playing against. So even if you're not scoring, they're not scoring. So therefore, you might be able to win versus, oh, here's your, in my opinion, below average quarterback. Now take this fantastic receiver and see what you can do with them. Nothing. I can't do anything with them.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
No, you're good. You're good. I want to add. I did message us on the group chat, which if the viewers could see the group chat, we have some very very fun conversations in there. I think, like you said, I'm a big Tua guy. I've had a Tua jersey since his rookie year. Big fan of his. I think Tua has the potential to be a good, maybe even great starter. But I haven't seen anything that makes me think that he has like the it factor that would ever make him considered elite whatsoever. Because you can kind of tell what players have the it factor. Like obviously Tom Brady definitely has it. Your Patrick Mahomes, I think like Justin Herbert. I mean, I can name all of the elite quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers. I personally think Justin Fields has that it factor. I think he's shown he has that it factor. Tua hasn't really shown anything for me to believe that. Again, he could show me something different this year because he now has a great offensive line and some great receiver options and better running backs. It's kind of an overall way better team than he's ever had. But he's got to show something this year. I think that's a lot for one player who's not even like a super important position and paying that much for him. I think that's just I think that the Chiefs definitely won this trade because they also clear up cap space. They get a bunch of picks for one of the best front offices in football. I think that the Chiefs did well in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was a gold mine for the Chiefs, and they can go get a good receiver. There's really good receivers this season. This draft coming up too.
Yeah, this is the best offseason to ever need a receiver. This receiver class is like 3 rounds deep. You could get a star in it.
I 100% don't understand the mindset for the Dolphins in this, but and maybe I might be wrong. Maybe with Tyreek, Tua will start to do fantastic and actually start to win a lot of games. So we'll see what happens there. So I do want to go to another trade, which I actually thought was a low ball trade. Matt Ryan went to the Colts for a 2022 third round pick. I'll let you take it. Go for it.
If you mean like the Colts didn't give up much for him.
Yeah.
Well, also, I don't know if you know this, but the Falcons are eating the entire salary cap hit.
Yeah.
For like $40 million for this year.
Like they might as well have released the guy.
Yeah. The Falcons didn't even have like a backup plan for quarterback for like a successor. I mean, they got Mariota. Maybe they think he could. Maybe they agree with football Twitter where he could be a superstar. I don't even think they had a successor in place. I think overall, it's a very weird move. I don't think they were a good team. We had talked about them making the playoffs. I think both of us had said that.
Oh, I had them in the NFC Championship game, I think.
Well, I mean, given the NFC is awful, but they were at least a playoff team. Now I think they're definitely going to be like last place in their division.
Yeah.
Maybe they could beat out the Panthers. I want to see what the Panthers do at quarterback first. I wasn't a big fan of the move. I think that for Matt Ryan is not a bad quarterback. I think Matt Ryan has fallen into that like one of the most underrated quarterbacks ever conversation. And a third round pick for a quarterback.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, I know he's not young anymore, but he's 36, which isn't. He's still got like 3 or 4 maybe years left. You can win some games with that, and I feel like a third round pick is like you said, it's ridiculous. That was definite winner in the Colts on that one.
So 100%. I think the Colts won on this one, and I will just say this: as far as us saying, so I mean, this from all of our previous shows. I really like Matt Ryan as a quarterback. I've always liked Matt Ryan as a quarterback. I actually have Atlanta winning next season. I don't think Atlanta, just as a team in general, the last 2 years was good at all. Like, I think they were terrible. And I think Matt Ryan definitely helped a lot to the games that they actually won. As far as Matt Ryan being 37 years old and he potentially having 3 or 4 years left in a quarterback is actually pretty solid, I would say. And secondly, Matt Ryan's 37 years old, but how much decline have we seen in Matt Ryan's arm strength?
I feel
right?
like he seems like very much the same player he was.
He
Like,
is very
the
much
Super
the
Bowl
same
year.
player, and he's very durable. This guy has
which
missed
is also
3 games his entire career.
because like I feel like if you watch Falcons games, which I know is maybe like a punishment to most people having to watch that team,
No, I like that, right?
but Matt Ryan, I feel like is still like the same player he was when he won. Maybe not at the level of an MVP like he was when he went to the Super Bowl, but he's still a very solid, good quarterback who could definitely win you a lot of games. I feel like it's the GM constructed a team that like got them to the Super Bowl and then just fell apart.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quick, so Matt Ryan, I don't think is as great as he was when he won the MVP, but he also had Julio Jones and several other great pieces on offense. But they also went 12-3 that year when he won the MVP and was a number 1 seed, or 13-3. I'm sorry. I believe they went 13-3 that year with like the 17th ranked defense and got to the Super Bowl.
Which I really like Matt Ryan, and I think a big part of why maybe the Falcons maybe think he dropped off is he didn't have a lot of weapons as like after they got rid of Julio. They had like Calvin Ridley, who I know he took this entire last season off. I think Kyle Pitts, I think he has potential to be a great tight end eventually.
Yeah.
I don't think Kyle Pitts is a star tight end at the moment. I know he was a Pro Bowler and people were like, oh, he had like the greatest, rookie tight end season ever. He didn't have that great of a season. He scored 1 touchdown, and it was in the London game against like the Jets or Dolphins or some team that didn't play well. Like he didn't have that
Jacksonville, because Jacksonville always plays in London.
It may have been Jack. I just remember it was a bad team, and I think Kyle Pitts will be good eventually, but I don't think that's like a target I'd be confident enough just yet to like help a quarterback that much.
Yeah.
And then Cordero Patterson had a great year. Don't get me wrong. I think he was good, but outside of that, there's no Calvin Ridley. Kyle Pitts is a rookie. They didn't have many weapons for him. I think the Colts definitely with their with their draft picks need to target some need to target some wide receivers, to help out Matt Ryan, because right now they also don't have many. I could see them going after Julio Jones for a reunion with Matt Ryan, which I would actually love to see. But I like the trade for the Colts on that one. I really like Matt Ryan. I think with a good team, he could definitely make them a playoff team.
Yeah, I hate this because I really like Matt Ryan, and I'm like rooting for the Texans this coming season finally in a very, very long time, and at the same time Colts, and I'm just like, man, I think the Colts can go far with this guy. And I hope they do. I don't think they can win the Super Bowl or any of that, but I hope for anyone who's looking at Matt Ryan and going, oh, this guy's done, I hope he gets to prove them wrong. We have less than 10 minutes, and we have 2 more trades to talk about, so we're going to go as quickly as we can on this. So real quick, talk about the Texans. Deshaun Watson finally got traded after not playing for a full year. He got traded to the Browns for 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a fourth-round pick. Browns also got Deshaun Watson and a fifth-round pick in return. What's your take?
I think that the Texans won this trade. That was a lot for Deshaun Watson. The guy hasn't played in a year, which is insane to me. That's a lot for anybody. Again, hasn't played in a year. He may be suspended for the entire year. And then I know they set it up to where like his cap hit isn't that big for year 1. But if he's suspended for year 1, then his cap hit's huge for the next year. And then you're going to have to lose some talent, and you'd have a less chance of, making a Super Bowl. I just feel like that I don't know. I'm kind of a Deshaun Watson hater at this point. I don't like his off-the-field issues. I know it is like, not resolved or whatnot, so I don't want to get into too much detail on that. But there's a lot of off-the-field issues with it. I think that's a lot for a quarterback, or for any player, including a quarterback. I think the Texans kind of screwed themselves with the DeAndre Hopkins trade, trading for Laremy Tunsil, that kind of a thing. But I think with these picks, I think Davis Mills could be a very good. I don't want to say very good, but he could be a good starting quarterback. He showed a lot of potential last year. He was debatably like the best rookie quarterback, I'd maybe even say over Mac Jones, just based on the situation. I think that the Texans definitely walked away winners. You could maybe say the Browns would walk away winners, but the only way I could agree with that is if they win a Super Bowl, because the Texans won 4 games the season with Deshaun Watson towards the end. The Browns could very well do that too. I like the Texans in this one.
So real quick, a lot of people consider Deshaun Watson a top 5 quarterback in the league. I don't.
I don't. Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with the simple fact of you said it earlier, the it factor. I never saw the it factor with Deshaun Watson. Big moments, big games. Deshaun Watson, while he only won 4 games the year he played last, prior to that, he's made the playoffs twice and never came through. He had a 24-point lead against the Kansas City Chiefs, and we blew it, right? And that's not all on Deshaun Watson, but hey, you have a 4-possession lead on a team, learn to hold on to it. Deshaun Watson, as far as all the issues going on outside, has a lot. To me, it's just like the outside noise is distracting, right? You can go either way on his lawsuit, however your opinion is, whatever the case is, and we're not going to get into that right now. But the outside noise will still be there, and I think that outside noise will also affect his leadership as a quarterback in the locker room. And I think at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson is just a better, maybe slightly even greater Baker Mayfield, and maybe he'll go from taking them to divisional to a AFC championship game. I certainly, especially in the AFC, don't see Deshaun Watson making the Super Bowl. Definitely not winning the Super Bowl. Maybe I'll be proved wrong one day. Maybe him playing in the Texans made me feel like he's not as great, and he's probably far better than he actually is because he played with the Houston Texans. Don't know. Wouldn't know until I'm proven wrong, but as of right now, my opinion is Deshaun Watson is not as great as everybody else's. I think the Browns gave up a lot, and considering that Bill O'Brien screwed up all of our draft picks in the future, and we were able to get back a lot of that from the Browns this coming year from one player, I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. So that's my take on Deshaun. I think the winners here is Houston. Like you said, I definitely agree with that. And I'm finally happy with the moves that Houston was making. And I'm not even a big Texans fan, but it makes me happy to see a team just turn some things around, and I hope they continue to do that.
I do want to add one more thing. I know we're running out of time, but
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
With the Watson trade, the Browns are also, the contract is like fully guaranteed, which is insane, especially considering the situation that Deshaun Watson's in. Is bizarre to me, and that makes the deal even worse for the Browns. But that's all I wanted to add. Just a dumb trade by the Browns.
So we got one last pick to talk about, trade to talk about, which is Mr. Devonte Adams. So Devonte Adams got traded to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 2022 first and second round pick. So you got about 3 minutes, buddy. What you got?
I'll keep it short because I know you said you had something to add to this, and I'm kind of curious what it is. I like Devonta Adams. It's one of those players. I know he played for Green Bay, so I had to hate him. I will still admit he is probably the best receiver in football. I don't usually say best. I usually say like I'd put him at 2 or 3. I think Cooper Kupp's the best, but that's for another day. Devonta Adams is a great player. He's a great route runner. He already has chemistry with Derek Carr. I think that was a great trade. I know they gave up a first and a second, but in comparison to like the Tyreek Hill trade, that's a great deal for the Raiders. And I feel like with Derek Carr is their franchise quarterback. I think that they have to kind of compete while they have him, which I know is not a good time given their division, but making moves like they did for Devonta Adams is a good move on the Raiders' part. I think, honestly, with this trade, I would consider both teams winners. Devonta Adams didn't want to play for Green Bay. You got a first and second round pick out of him, and the Raiders needed some star players to compete, and they got maybe the best receiver in football. I think that's a win-win on both sides.
So here's the loser in the trade here. I'm not talking about from a financial perspective. I'm talking strictly from just a NFL player advantage perspective. I think Devonte Adams lost this trade. I think the Las Vegas Raiders won this trade. I really do. I think they got one of the greatest wide receivers ever. And I like we just talked about it. I really, really, really like Derek Carr, but he's not Aaron Rodgers. Devonte Adams, if you think you're going to perform better with Derek Carr than you just did with Aaron Rodgers the last 2 years, you're out of your mind. So that's my number one take on it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers, without a doubt, is better than Derek Carr. Do not get me wrong. But I feel like Devonte Adams isn't like a receiver. Like, the past Packers receivers who were great, who left and then were garbage because they didn't have Aaron Rodgers. I think Devonte Adams is different because not only is he like the best receiver in football, but his like separation percentage is like the highest in the league, which definitely benefits Aaron Rodgers a lot. And I think that means that it's not just the quarterback making him great. He's great along with a great quarterback. But that's just an opinion. But
we'll see about that. Well, that's where I come in and say the Raiders won the trade, and then the Raiders definitely got a fantastic player. Here's the thing that most people are going to disagree with me on. I think the Packers won this trade. I think I'm more scared of the Packers now than I was last year or the year before.
With Allen Lazard as their number one receiver?
That's not even the thing. That's the thing. And everybody's just comparing Devonte Adams to Allen Lazard. Here's my question. Who's Aaron Rodgers going to throw the ball to now? And you can throw a bunch of bad receiver names out there. The real answer is, on any given play, you don't know the answer. Before, when the game's on the line and Rodgers got the ball, I know to triple team Devonte Adams.
Which was shown in the playoffs. That is a good point.
Which was shown in the playoffs 2 years in a row when everything was on the line for them. Who the heck do you double team now? Aaron Rodgers is 10-1 in the last 11 games as a starter. He's thrown 24. That's without Devonte Adams. He's thrown 24 touchdowns to 3 interceptions and has a passer rating of 112. This man knows how to play without Devonte Adams. You know what? We slightly talked about in our chat bringing Randy Moss back to Brady.
Which was a joke.
I know that. But I'm just saying, I think that's a great example because as great as that looked in the regular season, just like it did for Devonte and Aaron Rodgers, how did that work out for them in the Super Bowl? They got held to 14 points because when in doubt, what did Brady do? He looked for his number one receiver. When in doubt, what did the Giants do? They double coverage his number one receiver. But what's the toughest defense Brady's played against? It was the Seahawks. He threw 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers. They didn't know who to cover. They didn't know who he was going to throw the ball to. I think this makes the Packers more scarier than they were last year.
I know we are running out of time. I do want to
Big time. We got like 45 seconds.
I feel like you're making it sound like having a good receiver is a bad thing. I know that's not exactly what you mean, but that's kind of what it sounds like.
It's almost like last Super Bowl where they kept throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp on that last drive, and you and I both sat there and said, Cooper Kupp is amazing, but how stupid was the Bengals defense on the last drive? It's almost like that. Anybody who's smart enough to know you have a great receiver like that, you don't do one-on-one on them. You put them in multiple coverage, but now you don't know where Rodgers is going to go with the ball. So I think I'm just saying, I'm not necessarily saying they're going to make the Super Bowl because they can't really. I mean, the next step from going beyond NFC Championship game is the freaking Super Bowl. But I think the Packers are going to be. I would be more scared of the Packers next year. But we have about 45 seconds, not even 45 seconds to wrap this up. So we do have to wrap this up. So thank you so much for joining. This was fun, and we will see everybody next week. Until then,
have a good one.
You too. Good night.